I'm going to resume to warn everybody. So if somebody objects, I will happily stop, but
Okay.
those that can't make it. So, and
So,
good luck getting this one up on YouTube.
Can I ask a question about the mixing board? Is
Yeah.
it something that your library purchased? And what kind of mixing board did you use?
It is something that our library purchased for podcasting purposes, actually, but it was multifaceted.
Okay. Could I get that information possibly?
Absolutely. I'm just going to drop it in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
It's pricey-ish, but if you can afford it, it's so, oh my gosh, look at that link. But it's so worth it. And it's very user-friendly.
Cool.
Thank you.
Is anybody else doing in-person or hybrid, or is everybody still pretty much doing virtual?
I was going to say at the Grand Ledge Area District Library, we've been doing in-person all summer, all fall up until this point, but we've had greatly reduced capacity for all of our events. And if and when we could hold them outside, we would. So we have had a few presenters cancel because they were just feeling a little uneasy about the current state of things. But for the most part, everybody's been pretty good in our area about wearing their mask when they're doing a program, keeping their distance. I think at this point, they kind of understand, like, if they want to have the nice things, they have to cooperate. But we did do a little bit of virtual and in person to like hit or miss results. I think the overall consensus in our area was people just enjoy going to things again, and they were just burnt out on virtual so badly. But we still wanted to keep that option for those that were not comfortable with doing so.
Yeah, we're finding people are really tired of virtual. It's getting more challenging. We are having a live author visit this week, end of the month, but it's going to be outside at another venue, not at the library, under a tent and with limited capacity. So that's going to be our first venture into doing an adult in-person program. It'll be interesting. We've pretty much sold out. I mean, we've got, I think, 8 or 9 tickets left. So, and we're doing a box lunch. We used to have like table, seated table, but we're doing theater seating, and people get a box lunch. So you're not sitting around and breathing on each other. So anyway, it'll be interesting to see how it goes.
Our logic has sort of been that if it is a inherently exciting program like live music, we have done it in person with a cap on attendance. And if it is something more passive, like an author talk or a lecture or a presentation, we're keeping those at Zoom, not even just for safety anymore, but for convenience. You feel a little more excited to go see a musician. And if you do know that you are interested in a lecture, you might just want to pop that up at your living room rather than drive in your car to sit still for 40 minutes.
Yeah, we've done a couple of music programs outside, have been very, very well received, but nothing inside.
Now, do you guys I've had a couple authors that have said they specifically don't want to do Zoom, not because they don't do the Zoom presentations, because of book sales. Because they found that people just don't click, even if you put a link in the chats, they don't sell any books.
One of the in-person events that we held was a local author, and he was excited to be back in person, and he did sell quite a few books. I think he sold 20, which is a lot.
Oh, that is a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a band here and they sold merch. It was great and it was a good turnout. But everyone kept their mask on, so it was also very cordial. But also, it felt like a fun time for everyone.
So shifting gears, our friends are gonna open up their book sale in November for the first
Mm.
in a long time here. Anybody have any tips or tricks for either promoting that or for the friend? Have you guys found the book sales? I see Jeff, you're relocated out of your normal quarter, so your sales might have opened again.
I know. I used to kind of tune into these from our book sale. Actually, maybe anyone else can. I mean, we opened our bookstore when we reopened,
Mm.
but it was such a tentative time safety-wise that we kept it as a soft opening. Like
Mhm.
it was tacitly implied that you could come shop, but we weren't putting up a glitzy post about it because we didn't want a rush. We mostly just didn't want to rush of donations quite yet. Because folks, when they hear the bookstore is open, they also bring the donations in.
Yeah.
This is Becky at Orion. We did our first book sale in September and we made our most money ever. It was mobbed and everyone
Wow.
loved it. And
Awesome.
I didn't even see anyone in masks or anything. It's in our big meeting room and people came in. We don't require here a mask. We ask that you do if you're not vaccinated. Staff does have to wear them if they're not vaccinated, but it was packed. We did great. And the friends were really excited because they had not done one we usually do 3 a year. We had not done one at all this year or in 2020. We just did January right before everything shut down. They did a small one this summer outside just to kind of gauge interest. It was like 3 hours on a Saturday with tables out our front entrance, and that was well received. So then we started accepting donations back after that, and they got organized enough to have the normal sale in September. And like I said, record numbers of attendance and sales.
We had the same experience. I think there was a sale in August to clear things out, and then we do monthly second Saturday sales, and yeah, they did really, really well. I think there was also one on Saturday, but I haven't heard about how that one went. We have them in the lower level. I was here on Saturday, but I didn't see what was going on in the front. We are also accepting donations again. So they started doing that after the thing in August. And if I sit out on the staff terrace, I see people coming and bringing donations just constantly. They leave them outside the door if we're closed. They're piling up. We had to have our friends coming in like every other day to come sort through them.
Thanks.
We are going to start accepting donations again this week, and for the first time ever, we're trying timed donation windows. We're going to say you can bring your donations at these and these times. I'm very curious if anybody else has done that and if people have paid attention to the donation times, because I'm not at all confident that they're going to, but
Maria, that's how we started. And I think that at first, like the first couple of days, people really paid attention to it, and then it immediately fell apart. So I think it's a good way to start and tell people at the beginning, and then we pretty much transition to anytime we're open after that.
Okay.
Which was our normal donation hours. But I think it was a good place to start.
Thanks, Shayna.
You're welcome.
This is Jacqueline at Baldwin. We also just in the last couple of weeks started taking donations twice a week for designated time periods, and people really actually have been adhering to that. They're just so grateful to be unloading stuff. I think that they are willing to get rid of whatever we'll take at that moment in time. We did sort of unofficially agree amongst the people who were there, and the friends are here to accept them and kind of sort them out as they're coming in during those hours. We did sort of unofficially agree that if anyone came in with more than that, that we would, on an as we could basis, determine whether we could take 6 or 8 boxes or whatever the case was. Right now, the friends are, I think, willing to take more because they are also planning their first big indoor sale coming up in a couple weeks. So they're looking for inventory. And to that point, we were doing the same kind of format here that we have in the past with indoor, except we're spreading it out on the lower level a lot more than we previously had. So it won't all be in one room. It's actually going to be spread out between 2 rooms and a hallway. So there'll be a little bit more room for browsing. So, but yeah, we have been pretty lucky that people have been adhering to that time frame and the limit. But I think they're getting ready to expand that because it's been pretty manageable.
That's optimistic. Thanks, Jacqueline.
Hastings, Barbara from Hastings, has accepted donations 1 month before our summer sale, and will be accepting donations 1 month before our February sale. Storage, you all have the same fight.
Oh, yeah.
There's just not storage.
This is Sharon from Waterville. We're very small. We have a small ongoing book sale, but we are also undergoing a huge weeding project. So we're even more pressed for space than usual. So we are accepting donations, but only if somebody shows up with a bag, not really advertising it. It's an ongoing struggle, as you guys all know.
We've just been giving away books before we were open, and still now we have like a cart, it says free books, take them. And we had them outside, and that was how we did some of our weeding, you know. And then we're also doing the books. I can't remember the name of it because I don't do it, but you can donate them back to an organization. What's the name, Jessica, of when we donate the books back, when we weed them? Baker and Taylor. Sustainable. Yes, sustainable. Yep. Thank you. And that's been great. It's really, because we haven't been getting donations or doing any of that stuff. And it's been a lifesaver. If anybody else does that, it's worked really well.
We use it too, and also like it.
Yeah, Kimberly put in the chat that the branch district library, they do that too.
Mm.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, you're gonna have a big sale, you said? Or you're hoping to have a sale?
Are you talking to me, Jeff? I'm sorry.
No, Kelly.
Oh, Kelly, sorry. Yeah, the Friends are having a big sale in early November.
But it's gonna be in a big room, a big open space.
Nope, it's
Okay,
their
so that's the
old,
thing.
they have a dedicated space that used to be a cafe. And I mean, it's not a small space, but it's like retail oriented, you know, the shelves are just the 3 feet apart. And so they're going to try to, they can at least limit the number of people that come in at one time. So, because I know at some point in time we got on, I don't even know how, oh, my dog is joining us, bookfinder.com, and we had vendors lining up out the door. Yet I don't even know how our listing got up there because I hadn't put it up, but. So I think we'll be packed this first month, you know, at least by vendors. Okay, midnight. Meeting. She doesn't care. I work from home day, so she likes.
Can I ask a question about newsletters?
Yeah.
So I know a lot of libraries changed the way they did their newsletters during the pandemic, and I'm wondering if any of you changed the way you did it, how you changed it, and if you're going to go back to the way you were doing it before, or if you're going to keep the new way, like quarterly versus monthly, print versus etc.
So we went to monthly in Grand Ledge for about a year, just because, you know, with our programming and planning, it was literally on a monthly basis. We would know just right up until the cutoff. This summer, I did a summer reading program brochure, a trifold brochure, And people were really excited to see that back because I guess it was a really good value for them to have all that information. So I did a fall one as well. And we've basically given out all the copies of the fall ones. So I think we're going to go back to that. But we just have disclaimers on the bottom saying, you know, with the current state of events, things could be canceled. Be sure that you're checking on our website before you're going to a program to make sure it's still in person or virtual or whatever.
My dog is chewing on something. I'll be back in a moment.
We do a quarterly newsletter is what we had done before, mailed out, and we have been doing smaller mailers instead of like a trifold page. It would just be like a 1 page or something like that, depending on how much information we had to send out. We also really delved into the e-newsletters that we hadn't before. We got Savannah, and that has been really useful. We seem to have a good like open percentage on that. So I think that's going to stay. And we've been doing a monthly e-newsletter. If you don't know about Savannah, it's like market segmentation based on what your patrons check out. So it has like people who check out books, and then there's digitarians who check out mostly, you know, ebooks and things like that. And then there's adults who check out books for their kids. So we've started to kind of send out more directed e-newsletters. So we have a monthly one that goes out to everyone. And then we have a digital one for the digitarians. And then we have a kids one that goes to the parents of things that check out kids materials.
That's cool.
We use Savannah too, and I love it. It's great.
Yeah, we've really started to kind of get into it a little bit more. And so I don't think that's going away anytime soon. I think we are just now getting back to our regular quarterly mailers though. So I think our deadline was on at the end of last week for our next newsletter that's going to go out for the winter. And I think that is a massive way that we really get people in here. I think some people look at the emails, but for the majority of people, it like goes up on their fridge and they go through and they circle all the things they want to go to. So I think that'll start getting people back in.
What did you use before Savannah, Shayna?
I think it was just a regular sending out emails. Like there wasn't anything that we just put all our emails in there.
Okay.
Our last,
Or it was an email, it was a newsletter sign up from our website, I believe. Wasn't
like
it?
a MailChimp or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Our last director was really against like auto opting people into sending emails. But because of the pandemic, we really didn't have any other choice to let people know changing hours and changing services. So I think that really talked her into it, and we've had a good response about it.
I see Kimberly put a question at their open rate is 14 to 20%. That's wonderful. Generally speaking, like retail gets 6 to 10% open rates. Libraries and nonprofits tend to be a little higher, but anything above like 10 to 12% is outstanding for email rates.
Yeah, Kim, our youth events newsletter usually has like between 25 and 30% open rate, and it has the highest one the youth events does. And the adult and teen events are like between 18 and 25%. We use Constant Contact.
No, Maria, do people get to sign up for like which one version they want then? Or do you send those out to everybody?
No, they can sign up. They can choose to receive all three or just one.
Okay.
And it's monthly. We do our events newsletters monthly, and our print newsletter is quarterly. We've been receiving a lot of feedback that people aren't getting the print newsletter because we just use bulk mail. And it's been, I don't know, we've had a lot of complaints, especially from residents in the township, that they're just never receiving their newsletter, which is distressing because we spend a lot of money to produce it and pay for the postage every quarter. Oh, Dearborn Heights, 23 to 26.
Yeah.
Nice.
We just sent out our first print newsletter, and
Ever or like post-pandemic, Jeff?
not ever, because I'm sure we did it in the 90s, but it's been a minute. It's been a minute, and we ran into that same thing, Maria, where some folks didn't get it, but some folks got 2, and some folks got 3, so that might just be carriers. But for budgeting reasons, we're going to try to do it triannually, but it's going to be sizable. It's going to be 6 or 8 pages. We're going to try and report or announce lots of things that are coming up each season.
Yeah, ours is usually 8 pages quarterly.
Yeah.
We do ours 3 times a year, and we insert it in a local paper that goes to every household. So we save on the postage, and the 3rd class mail is really a problem now.
Yeah.
A lot of times it just doesn't even get delivered. It's ridiculous. And we've been
Here's-
doing it. We were doing a 12-page since the pandemic. We were just doing an 8-page. And we, like I said, we do it 3 times a year.
But we got a positive response. There was a noticeable wave of new library card signups after we mailed it out. It's always positive.
Well, that's good.
And we just still
Here
do-
at Orion, we mail every season, and we are in a magazine called Orion Living that we partnered with the township, the DDA, the chamber all on. We all have a section in it. It looks more like a coffee table magazine. It's really nice.
Nice.
We saved so much money because we were doing it 3 times a year here on our own, and between the postage and the printing, it was costing a lot. And this was led by our township supervisor, and we all partnered and started this a few years ago, and the community loves it. So we've just continued all the way through the pandemic. Nothing changed. We kept sending it. Now here at the library, I
It's
also
just
do
me.
an
It's Dan is calling me.
I do an e-newsletter once a month with just some highlights from it to all of our patrons, but the actual printed, nice colored magazine comes out seasonally. So right now I'm working on our winter issue, which will be in mailboxes around December 1st. So if there's any way that you can do that in any of your communities, I would highly recommend it.
I have another question. I'm wondering if anybody has had any of these First Amendment audits, people coming in and videoing and trying to irritate patrons and library staff so that you'll have an altercation that they can then post on.
Where's a piece of wood? Knock on, not yet.
We've had quite a few, and I'm just wondering how everybody, how's, if you have, how you've handled it. We're trying to ignore them. We just had someone come in on Sunday to 2 of our branches and kept hanging around and backing up and trying to get in people's face. And one patron said, I don't want you to film me. And I don't know, it's really weird.
That's a new escalation, Mary, because my understanding was that they were just trying to bug staff.
They were, I mean, yeah. We had a couple weeks ago, they were just bugging staff, and now they're, I mean, I don't know.
Isn't that like a new line to cross where you can actually get involved?
Well,
well, I can tell you a little bit of what we experienced here at the Library of Michigan, because we had 2 that came in last week. And now it's a little bit different with us because we've got state security, this the state police and other DK security that came through. And so the 2 guys that we had, they were walking around with cameras and they were going from floor to floor. It didn't look like they were trying to, I don't know, cause an issue with patrons, but at the same time, security was walking around them on a regular basis to show a presence. And when they did come up to the desk, I happened to be on desk. And the question that one of them asked me was just a question about the collection. He was asking like how many items were in, and which I responded. And I then just sort of turned it into a pitch about the library, that if you're going to film me, I might as well start talking about our collection, the types of things that we have, and make it into a promo for us. You know, if you're going to throw this on YouTube, I might as well take advantage of it. And the only altercation issues that we had was that security happened to catch one of them smoking out on the courtyard, which gave security reason to say, guys, it's time to get going. You can't be here doing that. The one real concern that came up was that one of them potentially had a sidearm on him. He wasn't brandishing it, but the fact that they've started doing tours over at the museum on the other side of our building, that brought a little bit more concern. So that's kind of what our experience has been of the one time so far. And they were walking around other places of the state complex too. So security was keeping an eye out on them.
Well, kudos for trying to turn the 11s into lemonade there. I like that approach. Let's talk the libraries up on them.
Yeah.
So we haven't had any at Southfield, although we've had a lot of discussions about it, and now we've narrowed down our photography policy and made sure all of our staff are aware in case somebody comes in of how we're going to deal with it just based on behavioral, if they're behaving properly or not the filming. But knock on wood, we haven't actually had to go beyond theory on that. Let's see. I'm looking in the discussion here that Maria's saying they haven't had any, but they're also prepping their staff and updating their photography policy. Has anyone else run into this?
I'm hoping they'll just go away. I mean, they're really looking for is an altercation so that they can post it. And like you said, Adam, we took the tack. Oh, wouldn't you like a tour of the library since you're here videoing? Let me show you all the wonderful things we have in the library. And then they leave. But the whole thing, like you said, Jeff, with filming patrons, it's a fine line. So
it's such a fine line because you also can't control what if the patron they decide to mess with is comparatively volatile, and
right. Yep. It's very tricky. Just hope you don't have it. It's just, I just blows my mind that people have the time to do something like that. I just think it's really crazy.
And there's a link in the chat to Claire Mirabella's, she did a webinar on that was really well. I watched it when I was trying to educate myself on this, and it's a very good one. And here we have a question, is it legal for patrons to be filmed? Okay, I'm not a lawyer. Here is my understanding of it. Please correct me, is that libraries are limited public forums, and you can film other patrons, but like if somebody requests not to be filmed, they can move themselves, you could then ask if you're disturbed, but they can't disturb library behavior. So if they're filming someone that's asking not to be filmed, then you're disturbing library goings on, and you can then request for them to stop based on that portion of it.
That was a good summary of my understanding, Kelly. Claire Membiela does talk about that in the webinar that Jacqueline and I mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
It's an hour long and it is worth every single minute of it.
Yeah, yes, it is. Yeah, because you don't want to tighten down your, like we were looking at, I don't want to tighten down our photography policy so much that parents can't post up, pictures of their kids at the library. You don't want to get so narrowed down that, you get that, because then you're selectively enforcing it, and that can get you into even more trouble. So, because who's going to stop a parent from taking a cute picture of their kid?
While we're on the topic of things people do when they have too much time on their hands, did anybody get any book challenges recently in the last couple of weeks? Because we've had 3.5.
Oh, you have
kind of a lot.
Wow.
That is. And I think 3.5 is what we've had in the past decade. So
We had 3 real ones, and we had another where they actually like submitted the form and went through the process that we have set up. And we
Wow.
had another person just submit an email through the web form, but she never followed up with the actual form when we replied to her, like, if there's a process for this, please use this form. And then she never followed up. So we're all kind of waiting to see if she does at some point, but we've had one appeal to our director's decision. So our board will have to address that at their meeting this month. They all happened during Banned Books Week, which
the
I
irony.
don't think was coincidental.
Mary from Newego is saying that they had someone who didn't like the banned book section.
Maria, what books were they trying to ban?
There were, so the real challenges are all youth books, and they're all LGBTQ themed. There's a picture book called Sam is My Sister. That's about a little girl who has a non-conforming gender expression, and the woman who wrote the book. It was inspired by her own children. There's another book, a juvenile nonfiction book called Be Amazing, a children's history of pride, which is a kid's history of the pride movement, and it's written by, he's a YouTuber, he's like 12, and he dresses in drag and has, hundreds of thousands of YouTube followers, and he's the author of the book. I can't remember his name at this exact moment. And then there was another one called, I think it was called Trans Kids Speak, and it was all first person essays, like short essays of trans kids ages 11 to 18 who were talking about their experience of realizing they were trans and coming out, and that was also in nonfiction. That one we actually did move to the teen department because it was in juvenile nonfiction, and looking at it, it was all teenagers talking about their experiences, so we did move it to the teen collection. But other than that, we did not make any changes. And then the one that we got the email about that wasn't an official challenge was for a teen sexual health book called This Book is Gay. That's all about, it's a pretty standard teen sexual health book, but it includes, some graphic drawings and specific instructions and definitions of how to do different things that, some people find particularly offensive, whatever. But that one we're not doing anything with because they didn't actually officially submit a challenge. So we just are letting it lie. A couple of other libraries near us got a similar email from the same patron about the same book. That patron didn't go through the correct process at any of those libraries, so we're all just kind of disregarding it. But
okay. We had the opposite reaction to Banned Books Week. I did a Facebook post and I said, hey guys, we're gonna get rid of all the banned books. We're just gonna we're gonna get rid of them. And at the end I was kind of like, oh, just kidding. And everyone was like, oh my gosh, yay, banned books, censorship is so wrong. And I was so happy, everyone. And I was kind of yes, now remember this. When you see all the LGBTQ, I was we're gonna get rid of the Bible, guys. And they all kind of freaked out. So I was really happy with that. So I'm hoping that we don't get any challenges. but I'm sorry that you had to deal with that. That's not fun.
I think you can't be a public librarian for too long without something like that happening. And ALA does incidentally have a lot of really helpful information on their website to support libraries who are going through the process of having material challenged. And of course, you know, we have board policies in place and our board is very supportive. So I expect it to it's not going to turn into a giant controversial issue at our board meeting. It's just, you know, disconcerting when people express that opinion and it feels very hateful and unwelcoming, which is not what libraries are supposed to be about. So
for sure.
But I was just wondering if anybody else had that, because it seemed odd to me that we had so many in such a short period of time and that they all happened during Banned Books Week. And some other libraries near us, I know, also had that same email about the one title. So
maybe it's, you know, it's just back to school time. Maybe it's just in general on people's minds, on parents' minds. I mean, maybe, was it probably mostly from parents? I don't know.
Yes, the three books that were actually challenged were challenged by three women who are all moms. I think they all actually homeschool their kids.
Okay.
And they came in together, and all three of them challenged all three titles. So,
wow.
Yeah.
I have unless anyone else has anything else to add, I have something tangential that is barely tied to this, but will take us off somewhere else. But I still wanted to say it to everyone. Our youth librarians write a column for a newspaper and they put book recommendations in, and it's geared toward parents. We have a youth librarian who will always put nonfiction recommendations. We have a youth librarian who will always put picture book recommendations, and we have a youth librarian who puts YA titles. And since October is LGBTQ+ History Month, that was the gist of her latest batch of recommendations. And the editor from the newspaper wrote back to me and said, oh boy, I don't know if my readership will like this. So that's an interesting little spot for me to be in. Ultimately, she said she'll run it, but it's interesting to think that the newspaper might maybe take bad letters to the editor heat because of what we recommend. It's just interesting. So we'll see how that goes. Just what's on my mind lately.
Has that one come out in print yet, Jeff?
Not that I know of, but maybe soon.
Keep us posted. Let us know. Yeah.
Yeah. Which the rest of that is that I have been considering switching to submissions to another newspaper that tends to cater to a readership that is a little more open-minded. So I'll keep you posted as this drama plays out, which means I'll have to send a breakup letter to the other newspaper, but I don't know. That's where we're at.
Well, that's a good spot to be in, that you have multiple options at least.
Yeah, I have two options.
Beholden to the one. So hey, two options is better than, you know, zero.
Right, right. But the editor wasn't saying, because she was a journalist, she's objective. The editor wasn't saying, I disagree with this, I won't run this. It was just she was having her readership in mind. So it was interesting.
And Barbara Hastings just posted in the chat on the funny side of challenges. She had a Hank the cow dog created issue because of poop mentioned in the book. And I'm sorry if I got two boys. If you mentioned poop, they're in giggles.
Indeed.
Books I've read about that.
Don't give her the book, Everybody Poops.
Yeah. Or there's quite a few tushy books out there at the moment too that have been come out recently. So
well, if you do want to watch a board meeting where something like this has come up at a township board, I used to work for Kent District Library, and a couple friends of mine who still work there alerted me of an issue that came up there over a book that was being given out for summer reading club as a ending prize, and it was put on the wrong cart. Like it should have been shelved were a different age, and somehow the book made it from where there was an issue about it at one branch to the Byron Township people. And I'll put in the chat the actual link to the YouTube meeting itself. The discussion starts probably about 20 minutes into it, but it ended up that the director of KDL had to go to it and talk. And it was a good lengthy, about 20-25 minutes of, I believe the expression that was used was bring the popcorn, if you really want to, and I'll put a link to the actual book itself. It was a another one that has the LGBTQ themes to it called Check Please. I'll put the link to that. And it was something that was highly reviewed. Like they have it in the collection, and it seemed I haven't read it, but it according to friends, it did seem appropriate to be giving out to a certain age level. But yeah, if you get a chance and you want to see what that's like with having those discussions, yeah, it was certainly interesting to watch.
Oh, the hockey book?
Yeah.
And Laura W is also chiming in on chat about it. She mentioned the book too. She said, if you watch the meeting till the end, you'll see what you consider an HR nightmare. The board talked openly about the morals of library staff.
Yeah, they were talking about the branch manager, and it just also goes to show where you really want to make sure that your township boards have an understanding of what the relationship is like with the library staff, how they do their, the mechanics of all that day-to-day work that we do, so that they're making informed decisions and not having these knee-jerk reactions.
I have a little more positive story. We did a Pride Month display in our teen room for June, and a teen boy came in and saw it, and then a staff person saw them the next day, and they brought all their friends to show them the Pride Month display, and they were really excited.
Those are the fun stories. Those are the reasons we do this job.
Mm-hmm.
Shayna, I'm so glad you said that, because one of the things that these challengers to the books in our collection were saying, they were like, well, even, we don't even want these necessarily to be removed from the collection. We just think they should be labeled as potentially dangerous and be in a special section and never be on display. And I think, a library display is a passive way to tell people in your community that the library is for them too, and that there's stuff at the library that they may want, like queer kids who come to the library and might not want to ask a librarian for a certain book, but they see a display and they're like, oh yay, I'm welcome here. The library is for me too. So thanks for sharing that. It's nice to have a positive story.
Our youth librarian is working on a program where LGBTQ, anybody, kids, adults, can come and basically just grab a book that's not within our system, it's not labeled, and they can take it, and if they want to return it, they can, or they can just have it, on their person at all time. It's not something we're going to keep in the catalog, but I thought that was a great idea.
Yeah, like Barbara put in the chat, potentially dangerous. That's a great section. It'll get the kids to read. What is the truth? It's like you try to ban something and all of a sudden, wait, I gotta read that now.
I know this one woman in particular, I just kind of want to tell her, like, you making this a big deal all over the world is virtually guaranteeing that your kids know you're doing this, and they're totally gonna find these books and read them. Like,
yeah. It's like, that's how you draw attention to it, is, And I like Jeff put in the quote there, a truly great library contains something in it to offend everyone. And that is what we should all strive toward. And then else have any other questions about banned books or anything else?
Just we kind of, I don't know if we covered this fully at the start, but how is everyone's youth department doing as winter approaches? Is it just going to be virtual programming? Not to like gossip, but I'm curious what your plans are. I know we're in such a wait and see period.
I put in the conversation at the top that we are going to be doing story times live out on the terrace. We're getting facilities has ordered 2 heaters for us, and they will be clearing the ground. So as long as it's not snowing hard, if it's just flurries, and as long as it's not raining, we're going to be doing story time outside December, January, February. We'll see how it goes. If it rains or the weather's inclement in any way, we're just canceling. We're not moving it inside. But the rest, we're doing virtual story time once a week, and then once a month, one in the evening. And book groups too, all virtual.
I think that's so cool. You're ordering the restaurant space heaters. I hadn't thought of to the library, but and it makes sense. Like, you know, an aside, my son's preschool was, you know, they just had outdoor preschool even through January of last year before they finally moved it inside, and it worked great. You just bundle the kids up and they have a blast outside.
Patricia, are you still doing the lottery to limit people, or is it just anybody?
No, it's just going to be a regular sign up. That lot we did an outdoor story time, 5 of them in August. And we did this weird, because we were trying to, we were spacing people, we were only allowing 10 families to register. And it was this weird convoluted lottery thing because we were like, so many people asked about it, but it really was not that kind of a big deal. I think maybe now it might be, but we're just doing regular registration. So when it opens up, people register for it. I'm not sure if it's a session. We've been doing sessions again, where we have people sign up for 4-week sessions, and we have like an activities bag that you can pick up at the beginning of the session so that they can do crafts and do things to follow along with the story time to make it a little more interactive. And that works better with the preschoolers than the infant toddlers, which is the one I did. But so I'm not sure if it's a weekly, every week you sign up, or if you sign up for all the December, all the January, all the February. So I'll let you know when I find out. I'm sorry. I should know.
And Jennifer mentioned in the chat that Detroit Public Library isn't doing any in-person programming for the foreseeable future. And then Barbara's mentioned at Hastings, they're doing sometimes virtual Legos inside with masks, and then monthly and weekly adults inside with masks suggested. Well, if we have no other questions or things, or our time is almost up. Just see, I see Erin just mentioned here that they had a community survey, and 49% said they wanted both in-person and virtual programs. So
for all ages?
we'll have to wait for it.
Yes, I believe so.
Cool.
All right. Anyone else have any other questions for the group before we adjourn? All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I'm going to try to post this recording up. Fingers crossed this one will work. So I'm still trying to get the Instagram one up. I've got it, but it's flummoxed me to the point that I just had to give up on it for a little bit. I'm ready to tackle it again. So
Thanks, Kelly. Thanks, everybody, for
Thank you.
participating. That was great.
yeah.